do that. There's a fourth bolt. I didn't see. I think there's a fourth bolt. I think. No. There they are. That's pretty cool. So this isn't the first spool that I've removed these from. It's probably like, I don't know, 6th to 7th over the years. This one so far, probably going to go textbook. Top came right off. And I've seen them where these boards would just fall apart. They'll open up like an umbrella in reverse. Or like an umbrella, rather. And these beads have been here a while, so propolis and the comb and all that's probably holding everything together. I still want to get this cable off so that I can remove individual boards while I do the removal process. I think it'll make things a lot easier. Really the only way to get the boards off. Well, you know, this isn't a very large void space for them to get into, so you know they've been swarming their little heinies off every season that they've been here. I'm gonna assume they were here last year for sure. Be far enough to be back for a second. This is the kind of job today we really don't have a lot of time. We want to get in and out on this. People having to leave in about 2-3 hours. So we're gonna have to use the VVAC and just vacuum them up and relocate them. So like normal. I'm gonna fire the VVAC. Let's get going with this thing. Here you can see me pulling remnants of cocoons out of the cells, and these were left behind by developing bees. Did you know that bees go through complete metamorphosis? You didn't know that? Now you do. The primary reason comb sections become so dark and rigid is because of the buildup of cocoons. Bees will recycle, they will reuse cells over and over again. I've seen hives where the cells are so shallow that they weren't usable anymore. And here's an example of that. Look how dark and shallow these cells are, and they're almost flat. Nothing really usable in this comb section. The cells in this comb section are so shallow the bees can't really even use them anymore. It's like a complete voided out section of comb. So if you've been following my channel for a little while here, you'll notice that bees are opportunistic. They really don't care what they start building a hive into. You know, a lot of times it's just a matter of trying to find a place to relocate. And of course they all relocate as a swarm. They will scout out an area before they inhabit it. I remove bees out of boats, hot tubs, AC ducts, diesel engines, audio speakers, mausoleums, car and truck tires, and of course people's walls between their floors and their soffits. Yeah, they're not very picky, and a lot of times it's out of necessity where they'll finally wind up. So the list goes on and on. Moral of the story, never a dull moment with bees, my friends. If you're wondering what happens to the comb that's grown in the tub there, usually what I'll do is I'll place it in the bee yard away from the beehive so that the bees can rob out any available honey, and I melt a lot of that down and I'll coat the foundation with it, with the beeswax. So it doesn't just get thrown away, just in case you were wondering about that. To secure the comb sections to the frames, I usually use number 33 rubber bands, but you can use string, wire, whatever the bees will utilize to attach comb sections to the frames. I'm sure you'll figure it out, but the rubber bands are kind of quick and easy, and the bees will chew through them, and they usually will push them out of the hive. If not, later on you can remove them.
there, folks. Take a look at that in just a second. That's what Mama's gonna be. I'll be. Mama's not over there.
There's Mama. You know, I've had quite a few people say, you put her in jail. You put her in jail. Well, the bees can get in and out of the cage 210 turd, but she's just a little bit too big to get out herself. So they will go in and they will tend to her, believe it or not. And she's going to be released in a couple of days, so no need to fret. I'm securing the caged queen on one of the frames. The reason why I cage the queens in the first place is when you bring them to the new site and set them up, if the bees decide to leave, they have to come back because the queen's cage, she can't leave with them. If you've been doing this long enough, you'll realize that that is the case often enough. So usually after they've attempted to leave, maybe 2 or 3 times, if they're going to try to leave, they usually get the message and they'll start building the comb, and then you can release the queen. They usually won't leave after that, but it's just a precaution. This is that little area that I thought the queen had wound up on, inevitably, probably just covering a piece of the spool that had some old comb on it, maybe some propolis, which is kind of like candy to bees. Incidentally, a little propolis and old comb, if smeared on your bottom board of your swarm trap, is really good attractant and to catching swarms. And I'll include at the end of this video a link to a video that I made about attracting swarms, so that maybe you can catch yourself some free bees. This is how I shut down the bee vac and close the blast gate. I always give the hose a good tap to make sure that there aren't any bees at the end of the hose, so they'll dislodge and join up with the rest of the bees in the bee vac. This is the amount of bees that we wound up with. I'll combine them with the rest of the bees in the nuke later on. Not a great big colony, but probably a couple thousand bees or so. Alright folks, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Another from JP the Bee Man. I'm having a great day and I hope you are too. To the next one.